Let's get physical. It's Jordan here, back again with this week's update and all the physical releases coming to the Nintendo Switch, December the 16th until the 20th. Let's see what we've got this week. DREDGE Complete Collector's Edition should be releasing this week in North America and Europe. This is the second release of the game, and this is the one that contains all the DLC on the cartridge, which is nice, alongside some nice goodies in the package. I remember when the original standalone release came out, it was constantly in demand and out of stock, with some people paying over the odds for it. Well, I think patience is often a virtue because you don't know what's around the corner, like this collector's edition with a more complete on-cartridge version. Anyways, it's a great horror fishing game of sorts, very supernatural and weird, but very interesting and very good. And my executive producers, Super Ben Julio, Dane Wilkinson, Ishin, Issa, Alex M, God of Resin, Wixit, Dave Hustwaite, and JCross7776 have chosen this as their pick of the week. And if you want to purchase any retail video game, not only in this episode, but any game ever, as long as it's in stock, then please consider using the links down below in the description and pinned comment. You can purchase from VGP and support me in the best way possible, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. But that's it for retail this week. Yes, only one game. We're now going to jump into the low print section. Yeah, already. And what do you know, Limited Run have got a lot for us this week, because Slipstream is one of 4 of their games up for pre-order this week. Look, the Christmas pudding at the office party is not going to pay for itself. This is a distribution effort, and it looks great, to be fair. This is not a brand new game by any means. It came out many years ago digitally, but it seems to have slipped me by. A racing game with some 32-bit visuals and Sega arcade flair. Looks like my kind of game. If you want some outrun action, but with more meaty content, 20 tracks, a good few cars, and some badass music, this looks great, and you can pre-order it right now on Switch and PlayStation 5, and my executive producer Instacritic has chosen this as his pick of the week. Freedom Planet 2 is probably Limited Run's big one this week, although maybe a little bit late to the party. I think the hype about this one has died somewhat, with the developers not doing themselves much favor in releasing the Switch version like 2 years after the PC release. But if it's more of the same from the original game, then it'll be a winner, because for me, Freedom Planet 1 was one of the best games I've ever played that was clearly inspired by Sonic. And I'm not going to call it a clone, because it certainly evolved into its own thing. And reviews for this one have been very positive, so I think it'll still be a popular one. You can pre-order it on Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 5 on Friday, and my executive producer, Punkaduster, has chosen this as his pick of the week. 8-Bit Adventures 2 is their third game this week, and despite the incredibly generic name, which if I was the publisher I would have told them to change immediately, this is supposed to be a really good game. A great throwback to 8 and 16-bit RPGs with a good focus on story and having gameplay balance, like no grinding needed apparently. Very charming overall. A great love letter to the classics. I even considered approaching them for, premium edition games, but I was busy and I forgot, and this deal was probably already in place, and I doubt they would have appreciated my bluntness about their shit name. So it wouldn't have happened anyways, but I'm happy to see it get a physical release, and I hope it succeeds because it looks great, and you can pre-order it right now on Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 5, and my executive producer, Louis K, has chosen this as his pick of the week. Gimmick 2 is Limited Run's 4th pre-order in this week's episode. Now this is getting a retail release in Europe next year, and in fact is getting an Asian and Japanese release this week. But if you want to wait for this version, you can pre-order on the 17th on Switch and PlayStation 5. The sequel, 30 years after the original, proves that, anything can happen. Some may say it's gimmicky, making a sequel to an obscure NES game, and that's exactly what it is. It's gimmicky, right? But it's good. This received mostly positive reviews when it released digitally a few months back, doing the original justice, and the art style didn't make me want to puke with cheapness, so yeah, pretty interesting. X Out Resurface. Now there's some interesting news about strictly limited games, and I'm going to take a moment to talk about them. So you may have noticed that the title pop-up reference ININ games rather than strictly limited, because they are changing up their approach, hopefully in a good way, and I think they may have listened to me, because in a PR email, Strictly said they are distancing themselves from the relationship with ININ games, no longer having pointless versions of their retail games, instead just helping them out with what they're good at, which is collector's editions, which will be available on ININ Games' new web store. And in addition, they will be helping other publishers out there with collector's editions of their games. And I can't take credit for this, but let me tell you, one late drunken night in the summer, I was kind of feeling sorry for them. Like, I don't enjoy ripping companies apart. I want everyone to succeed in a good way, you know? And I also wanted you guys to get the games you pre-ordered many years ago. So I wrote kind of like a letter to their CEO with my manifesto to get them on track. And I literally said this stuff, like distance from ININ Games just a little bit, stick to your own games, but also reach out to Kickstarters, other publishers about doing collector's editions for them, because that is what you're really good at. Like, they do some really good collector's editions, and it seems that's what they're doing now. Now, I didn't get any kind of reply from my letter to them. I know it was passed on, but I do approve of this approach, and you know, this is the first baby of that new approach, because on ININ Games' new website, you can pre-order a collector's edition of X Out Resurface like right now. The standard edition will be at retail, but this collector's edition is there on their website, and the game looks like a fun Euro shooter. It's a remake of a game from like 89, 1990, first on the C64, but maybe more famous on the Amiga. Looks nice, not like a brutal Japanese shmup, but you know, one with upgrades, different customizations, slower pace. I like it, it looks really good. Alright, the import section. Remember, Play Asia, you can get 5% off with my code, Jordan24. Tokyo Clanpool is being sent out this week via Play Asia, and if you want to play it, you're probably going to want to import the physical release, since the digital release on Western eShops is kind of in limbo. Apparently, Western Nintendo have updated their guidelines, and it looks as though this may not make it digitally onto the eShop in America or Europe, at least until next year. I mean, NIS America, in like similar like related things, they just cancelled 4 Switch games because of these so-called new guidelines. 3 Neptunia games and Death End Request Code Z have been cancelled on the Nintendo Switch in the West. So what I'm saying is, if you want this import exclusive with English, you should probably get it physically. This was a Vita game trapped in Japan, but now it's in English and on the Nintendo Switch, a JRPG dungeon crawler in a standard edition, as well as a nice limited edition which comes with some extra stuff. And my executive producers, the Nemo 6, Dave Horworth, Kevin W, and Feig, have chosen this as their pick of the week. Yeah, you want those games, right? So, here you go. Now let's see you clear them. 1+2 is releasing in Japan this week with English, and this is a double pack from some legend out there who decided to actually make those fake mobile games that you see advertised on Facebook and Twitter, like actually make them real, like real games. Okay, the character designs aren't quite as characterful. If anything, they look even more fake, but let's face it, we've all been tempted to click, right? We've all thought, yeah, I can definitely save the princess. I could do that. Look, you just pull that pin, or you just pour this one into that one. I've kind of wanted to try it. Well, now I can try it, just without your phone and on your Nintendo Switch. Unironically, I want to buy this, I really do, and I'm sorry. And my executive producers, Josh Foote and Thorn Metal Luna, have chosen this as their pick of the week. Ancient Weapon Holly is releasing in Japan this week with English, and it's got some pretty badass box art to not quite match the supposedly mid gameplay. It's a dungeon crawling game as you lure enemies into traps rather than, say, you know, blasting them with a bazooka, which is my usual preferred method of choice. Reviews are mixed, but it actually kind of appeals to me. Maybe it reminds me of a Metallic Child a little bit, like with the visual style. But yeah, I think I'll give it a shot and see for myself. And my executive producers, they're pretty excited about it. Rose, Cartoon Soren, Robotech, and Ghost Bune have chosen this as their pick of the week.
Everybody's Dead Day.
Voice Love On Air is releasing in Asian regions this week with English. Say hello to the 3rd English physical boy love visual novel. This one is Chinese made, a dating sim where voice actors making a boy love radio drama end up falling in love with one another. A weird fantasy plot premise. I bet they had a boner writing that one. It's coming in a standard edition as well as a limited edition, which includes a badge and an acrylic plate of something. Japan and Asia are also getting these releases. As I mentioned, Gimmick 2, you can import that now if you want. It has English. There's also Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which is a very late Japanese release, which makes me think that maybe there is a more up-to-date cartridge version of that compared to the Western release. I don't know. And yeah, the others don't have English apart from Neon Blood, but we have that already. Alright, let's jump into the community spotlight. Executive producer Dave Horwath sent in this photo with a triple helping of Gunvolt. If you want some side-scrolling action platforming, these are the games to go to. Transient Image sent in this photo picking up one of the many Story of Season games. I think Friends of Mineral Town is one of the few that I haven't played. I don't know, I get confused with all the names though, they sound so similar. Executive producer Adamantium sent in this photo picking up some really nice imports. Very happy to see 3 Kingdoms 8 remake. It's a miracle of a game for me personally, even if no one else gives a monkeys about it. Executive producer Robotech picked up these games. Some said I was harsh on Milestones 2 when I compared it to 3. And looking back, yeah, you know, there's like 3 awesome games on here, so maybe it's not so bad. Robin H sent in this photo picking up one of the games of the year, at least according to you guys. Okay, it wasn't massively high on the list if you watched it, but I think it came out at a time where JRPG fans' focus were on other JRPGs releasing around that time. It was a busy period for JRPG fans. Executive producer Vei, my man in Japan, picked up this big bunch of games, including the 2 Japanese physicals that very recently got their English updates as promised, Tokyo Psychodemic and Canon. Executive producer Lewis K sent in this photo picking up the beautiful Amedama, the body-swapping samurai action game. I love that box art and the game. Alan and Jeannie sent in this photo, lucky enough to picking up the P3P Grimoire edition. I just wish these games were retail, the demand is there. Executive producer Instacritic sent in this photo with a plethora of games, including a European exclusive, Evil Nun. Apparently Evil Nuns are not allowed to cross the Atlantic. Executive producer Ghost Bune sent in this photo picking up one of the potion games. I don't know what the difference between this potion game and the other potion game is that we got like last year. I don't know, there's too many potion games. Executive producer Kevin W sent in this photo with the nice Catherine. VGP pretty much have this permanently at less than $15 US, and you can't go wrong with that price. Scumbag sent in this photo picking up Imaginators, which is one of the more expensive physical releases out there. I think it was a launch title, right, that everyone promptly forgot existed. Executive producer Super Ben Julio sent in this photo picking up Turok 3 and Double Dragon, both of which are getting sequels. Those were announced at the Game Awards, which is fun. Turok, I just hope they lean less into the sci-fi aspect because that was always like the least interesting part for me. Illogicool sent in this photo picking up some bargains that I mentioned a couple of weeks back. South Korea with some really cheap releases. I mean, Octopath in the middle wasn't like properly cheap, but cheap enough for that gorgeous artwork. Executive producer Cartoon Soren sent in this photo with Gal Metal, which I think I reviewed that for Switch Watch so many years ago. I can't remember my exact thoughts aside from the controls being very awkward. Giovanni C sent in this photo, Elliot Quest. Now that is an often forgotten Switch physical. I guess a lot of Nicholas games seem to go that way as well. Executive producer Ishin sent in this photo with Stella of the End, one of Key's latest visual novels. And yeah, I've noticed on many of the import videos I've been doing recently, a lot of people mentioning the sheer amount of VNs there are to import now. Yes, there are a lot. Alright, let's have a roundup. Tap and then nap. Choco Loco James. JB in my knot. Shell. Reg. Devil Angel. Bridget F. Andrew R. Mason J. Bomb. Shlomo. Needless Dragon. Ashura G. McLaren. Alright, send me your pictures. You know where to send them. It's on the screen right now. If you don't know how to send them, you've not been watching long enough. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you watched all the way through, please leave me a planet emoji in honor of Freedom Planet 2. And as always, special thanks to my executive producers, Dane Wilkinson, God of Resin, Brent McLean, Alexander Cato, JCross7776, Punky Dooster, Cartoon Soren, Robotech, Raven Knight, Thorn Metal Luna, Issa, Vey, Offphone, Instacritic, Precision Plague, Alex M, Feig, Josh Foot, Ishin, Lewis K, Kevin W, Jennifer M, Super Ben Julio, Double Dave, Husway and Horworth, Wixit, Sora Cat, The Nemo 6, Ghost Bune, G Bautista 100, Rose, and Adamantium. Thank you so much. If you want to join them, check the Patreon link down below. It's the Let's Get Physical producer tier. It's the last one right at the end, okay? Thank you as always. If you purchase via my links, it helps support me ever so much. And I should mention, this week's winner for the $10 discount coupon from Video Games Plus is Richard N. Congratulations, Richard. Thank you so much for your support. And everyone else, I hope you had a wonderful day. Take care.